Thank you, and good morning. Good morning. Because one of the things that we need to build innovation is a great deal of spirit and energy. So I want you to join me in that spirit and energy. So there will be a few things that are a little different about the talk this morning. First of all, it's a PowerPoint-free zone. No PowerPoint. Secondly, even though we always ask people to turn off their cell phones, if any of you are on Twitter and want to tweet while I'm talking, please feel free, as long as you don't take business calls. We all have to learn the new media, and I love the fact that it spreads our message worldwide. And I am going to talk in a slightly different way about innovation, because there are paradoxes in business life, and one paradox is that we talk about certain concepts but don't demonstrate them. I used to define participation, for example. Remember participative management. Participation was what the top ordered the middle to do for the bottom. Innovation is another one of those concepts that we invoke and yet don't practice. I'm asked by many companies to come and talk to them about how they can get more innovation. And their first question is, who else is doing it? Or I'm told they want more innovation, they just don't want to be the first. So I decided that I should talk about innovation in a way, at least at the beginning, that's a little more creative. If we want creativity, if we want ideas, then we have to be more engaging and more creative in the ways we talk about those ideas. But I like the word game-changing because for a number of years, I've been thinking that if we want to unlock creativity, we need to engage in more imaginative thinking. So I often ask business leaders to think about their industry or their company in terms of a game or a sport. If we're going to be game-changing, we'd better know what game we're playing. So I asked people to think about that question. What game are you playing? What's a good metaphor or image for the game your company or your industry is engaged in? One of my favorite metaphors I return to from years ago is that the game we're playing and why innovation is so critical and what the traps are as well as the possibilities, the game we're playing is like the croquet game in Alice in Wonderland. In that game, everything is alive, everything is moving around the players. Nothing is stable. So Alice goes to hit the ball, but the mallet she's using is a flamingo. And just when she's about to hit the ball, the flamingo lifts its head and looks in another direction, which I think is a perfect image for technology, for the tools we use. They are changing so rapidly that we have to have a different approach to how we lead and where we look for ideas about the future. The tools are changing so fast that they both provide an opportunity for innovators and a challenge for everybody that wants to keep up with change. And so technology and the tools are changing so quickly, it means there's a premium on knowledge in every enterprise, and that often means knowledge that's coming from unexpected places, well outside the center and often from below. And that's a tremendous change and one we have to tap if we want more innovation in companies or in countries. Innovation can come at any age. We can have brainstorms at any age, but we do know that certain things happen to people as they advance in their careers that sometimes becomes an innovation trap. It cuts off the capacity to support the new. So I know that one of the things that people get as they advance in their careers, not just privileges and perquisites and maybe a little bit more money, but one of the things they get is that they earn the right to never talk to anybody who disagrees with them. Yes, minister, yes, minister. Well, innovation thrives on dissent. Innovation thrives on people who say you're wrong, on people who say there's a different way, there's a better way. Conventional wisdom doesn't guide us appropriately into the future. We want to know that it's safe, that somebody else has done it first, but innovation requires the courage to have a conversation about things that are different. And in organizations or countries that respect the hierarchy of tradition, often it's more difficult for new ideas to surface in a way that makes a tremendous difference. It also thrives on new knowledge, as I said earlier, and the other thing that comes with the privilege of a career and in established organizations, this is especially true, is that people eventually rise to a position where they never have to learn anything again. They never have to learn anything again. They have the answers. And coming with their position should be the answers. And yet in this Alice in Wonderland croquet game world, and remember we're still just talking about that moving flamingo, where our tools keep facing in other directions, who are the first people you know to use the new tools? New people, new users are often the source of knowledge and learning in this world of rapidly changing technology. But one of the innovation traps is the assumption that all good ideas come at the top, that people at the top of organizations or in countries are smart enough to figure out where the future is going, and therefore to bet on the industries or tell people in the company what to work on. But it is true that people who are newer, who are below, who are peripheral, often have good ideas. Innovators learn from jarring new experiences that challenge their own assumptions. The trap is to decide that all the science can be done right here in our own laboratories. And sure, science is pretty universal. But innovators get their ideas and see them in use often because of the jarring experiences that come from a discontinuous experience of something that's different from what they already thought. And that's just as true of the new users, of the young, of the new in organizations. Most companies of any size bring in new people and yet never learn from them. New people often look at old products with fresh eyes. And yet our goal when bringing new people into our enterprises is to teach them what we know, rather than hear what they think about what we know. And there are new modes now coming into being in organizations, however, that seek high levels of innovation. And one is self-organizing from below. The innovation trap, as I said, is insular thinking that assumes all wisdom resides at the top, all wisdom resides at the center, and it only resides within our industry or our company. And the lesson, the enduring lesson is innovation thrives where there's diversity, dissent, new learning, and where the young can teach the old. Whenever organizations or people can tap the wisdom of the young, it's why I love some of what InterTradeIreland is doing is absolutely the right thing. The university students, getting students and young people to build businesses as quickly as they can. You can acquire them. You can invest in them. But the energy that's required for innovation and the ability to look at things with fresh eyes, that's where you get innovation. That's the source of strength for the future. And we can all cultivate that in ourselves as long as we don't find ourselves and our organizations falling into the trap of becoming insular, headquarters-centric, and hierarchical in our thinking. All right, so I'm still on the croquet game metaphor. So Alice finally, by the way, I like talking about Alice in Wonderland because I like female role models. It's another thing I want to, push here. So Alice finally gets the flamingo under control. And she's got her tools, she's got the technology, knows what she wants to do, she's got that moment, she wants to hit the ball, but in her game, the ball is a hedgehog. It's a living creature with a mind of its own. And so it doesn't just lie there rolled up waiting for Alice to hit it. When it feels like it, it gets up, walks to another part of the court, and sits down again. I think that's a perfect metaphor for our customers, for the people we're trying to serve, or the people we're trying to sell to, or the market we're trying to create. They're not just lying there rolled up in a ball waiting for us to hit them with our latest offering. They have minds of their own, and they're going to move to find the best and most satisfying. And in fact, they do it as a matter of course. This has been a global trend, the fickle customer, the demanding customer. This trend means that companies are forced to innovate, like it or not, in part because the competition is doing it. And the best way to stay ahead of the competition is to innovate one step further and constantly improve whatever one is doing, and constantly surprise people with the new offering. And in fact, that ability to be ahead of the market, but just a little bit, that ability is what creates great economies, because when you innovate, you have one whopping, otherwise illegal advantage. You have a monopoly. You have a temporary monopoly. Innovation produces a temporary monopoly. And if you get too good at it, then the competitiveness commissioners are going to come along and say, now you have a real monopoly. So innovation is, of course, the way that one stays ahead of the customer. But the trap is, how far ahead? How much innovation? How different from what the established pathways already permit? So I'm going to tell you another little funny story. I hope it's funny. And I'm telling you funny stories, by the way, because as I said, innovation is about thinking differently, and I'll tell you a story when I end about that. So this story comes from one of my favorite management philosophers, Woody Allen. I see you've heard of him. I'm glad. So Woody Allen wrote a story in which he was imagining the first landing of aliens from another planet on Earth, the first real UFO landing. And he said, when most of us imagine the landing of aliens from another planet, we imagine, well, like we used to say in the U.S. about the Japanese are coming. Now we say the Chinese are coming. They're going to buy everything. They're going to take us over. So in his story, he said, most of us worry about the landing of a UFO that is light years away. It's centuries ahead of us in technology. So it's going to invade and take us over because we won't know how to communicate with them. We won't understand what they're doing, and so they'll just take over. And he said in the story that what worried him was not light years away or centuries ahead. What worried him was the aliens who would land from another planet and be just 15 minutes ahead. Because if they were just 15 minutes ahead, they'd never be late for a meeting. They'd always be first to get the best retail space. They would be there first when the stock market opened. You know, they would get it all just by 15 minutes. And I thought that's really very profound as I was studying innovation. It's the 15-minute competitive advantage, not necessarily the long-term bet on a future science that's untested. Well, in Massachusetts, we have a thriving biotechnology industry, except that it is so long-term, it's not making money for anybody. And it's great to have some things that are so long-term, but you can really, because, you know, the payback horizons are a long time from certain science-based industries. And those are wonderful, and they may pay off in a very big way, but that's not what our economy is resting on. It's resting on lots and lots of business startups. It's resting on many technologies, many ideas that are fresh ideas, many of them started by young people. The 15-minute competitive advantage can be as important or more important than the 15-year competitive advantage. So what we need is the ability to turn fast, have long-term thinking, but short-term wins, and that's what customers want. Customers aren't going to wait 15 years for your next great offering. They want it now. Major trap in innovation is waiting for the blockbuster, waiting for something so dramatically new and different. First of all, it might take a long time, and placing all your bets just on a blockbuster, on some grand technology, and that's where all the bets go in the country, or on some great new blockbuster product. So innovation is a constant process. It's one that doesn't simply involve finding a blockbuster so far ahead that you'll steal a march on the competition. But as long as you innovate, you do have what economists call a temporary monopoly. That is, customers will flow to you because you're the only one that has it. And so that question that I got, that I said in the beginning about innovation, who else is doing it? Well, you want no one else to do it in order to be unique and have the advantage of that. And when you're unique, this is an advantage to the whole economy, because the reason Massachusetts prospers, the U.S., when it prospers, prospers, and you will prosper, is because you can sell it into other markets. Economies don't prosper unless they're selling outside their own borders. And if you have a product or a service that's unique and you can't be found anywhere in the world, those fickle customers who are like the hedgehog in Alice's game, who now have information available to them about what's available anywhere in the world, can find it on the web, can sometimes buy it on the web, or they can ask a traveling friend to pick it up for them. You will sell out into the world, and that will bring prosperity back. You got to think exports. You got to think trade. All right, so maybe now we have the hedgehog under control because Alice is now ready to hit it, because Alice has innovated just a little bit ahead of the hedgehog, so even if the hedgehog starts moving, Alice is ready to hit the hedgehog into the hoops. In Alice's game, Alice is now ready to hit the ball through the hoops. But the hoops also are living creatures, and they're a deck of playing cards folded over, being ordered around by the Red Queen. And just as Alice is about to hit the ball through the hoops, the Red Queen barks out an order and all the hoops reposition themselves on the court. Now, that really is the game we're playing today. You can master the tools, the technology, the knowledge you need, the ideas. You can even master customer interests, market demand. But industries, whole industries are being reconfigured in front of our very eyes. There are many Red Queens barking out orders that cause the entire industry structure in any one country or the world to change, to be repositioned. Mergers and acquisitions, geopolitical events, country borders. I mean, who are you trading with when you're trading in some countries? When I was starting out my career, I thought that certainly by now, or at least by 10 years ago, there would have been fewer countries in the world because it looked like there were going to be all of these country mergers. Now we have more countries than we were ever going to have before because everybody wants their own. Or if they have one, they want to keep it. Okay, that's fine. But the changes that have gone on, even in those structures, but certainly in industry structures. One reason that we need innovation is because of the innovation that's already going on. Innovation, as I said, cannot take place when there is insular thinking. It also cannot take place when there is thinking within only one industry, as though the boundaries or the limits or the structure of the industry is sacrosanct and will never change. We have industries merging with other industries all over the place. We have odd combinations being created. We have new structures. Some of it's called convergence of technologies. Interesting how one can think outside the industry and outside the boundaries of a company to produce innovation, to find new collaborations. Telecom fascinates me at the moment because I've been through all of the changes as telecom companies were deregulated in many countries, were removed from government control in other countries like my country, and I'm fascinated by what's happened. So the U.S. now has two main, really big wireless and landline telecom companies that are trying to become global as fast as they possibly can. Verizon, which is in partnership with Vodafone, which seems to be running my device right now. Verizon wants a closed, insular, hierarchical, government-regulated with the mindset of people who had to always watch what the regulators were saying or not saying, has become a nimble innovator, now working in several different industries that you never would have thought they were in. One is, some of this started in 2008. In 2008, they created a partnership with Google to work on the Android. And that was, for this giant, lumbering bureaucracy to partner with a company then barely 10 years old that had gotten big, but it was still full of kids. You know, imagine the sight. It happens that I know these people, so I'm really exaggerating this. There's somebody from New York in a suit who goes out to California facing a kid, looking them in the eye. Well, it was not quite like that, but these interesting, different kinds of partnerships. And Verizon started getting into cloud computing because, after all of this is going to be run on their network. And suddenly, running the network, they get into the creation of software, of devices, of cloud computing. Amazing transformations. They form partnerships all over the world so they can go from being, US to global. They have created the most interesting collaborative innovation vehicle I have seen recently in Massachusetts, my home state, because of all of our innovators. It's an innovation lab, a Verizon innovation lab, where they invite in potential developers and users of their network to use space in their lab and project managers from Verizon to develop applications for 4G, the next generation of the network. And they have brought together in that lab giants like Siemens and startups like a company you've never heard of with 8 employees to together experiment with what the networked home would look like. And now Verizon doesn't take any piece of it. Verizon doesn't own the results, but they are becoming the convener of other companies who together will develop things that will create demand for Verizon's network. The incubators for innovation in the future are not only going to be universities. We're starting an innovation lab at Harvard. It happens to be run by Harvard Business School. It's open to all of Harvard University because we think there are going to be business ideas anywhere. These new incubators are going to be really, really interesting. Things that come about because of collaborations between companies that want to transform the whole industry. Because if you transform the whole industry and you're one of the innovators, it's good for your business. If Verizon gets even 10 fantastic new applications for the 4G network, Verizon's not a telecom company anymore, it's a network management company, and maybe they'll take a piece of some of them, but if they get those new applications and they learn first, they have the 15-minute advantage over the other former telecom companies. So that's Alice's croquet game. When we say the game is changing or we want to be game changing, that's the game that I keep thinking about, the game where all you're trying to do is just win the game and you think it's easy. You take this flamingo and you hit the ball through the hoops, but everything around you is volatile. That's why you need innovation. You need it to stay in the game at all. But if you get the right culture, if you listen to ideas from below, if you connect with young people, you know, everybody here should have a meal. If you have, well, you probably have kids, and they're probably already telling you things. But if we connect with the new sources of knowledge, the places they're coming from, if we connect with those from below, if we welcome dissent and criticism and challenge, if we don't feel we know everything just because we're the boss or at headquarters, if we are able to tap those little 15-minute increments of being a little ahead of the customer and ready with their next need, if we create new partnerships across industries, then we can avoid some of the classic traps of innovation and create the capabilities to make innovation work for us. And that's how you win the new game. I mean, innovation, sure, I agree, it's a buzzword, it's the flavor of the month, and I'm really glad because, good for me, I have a book with that title. I've been talking about it for a long time. So, but it's not a fad because it is, in fact, the only real driver of change. We can't cut expenses and grow. Sure, we have to cut waste. And innovation is also a good way to do that. Because when you innovate in business processes or in public processes, you can save money. Innovation can be very efficiency producing. But efficiency is only a piece of the equation. We want growth. And we want growth, by the way, not just because it's good for the economy. Growth isn't just about money. And it's not even just about jobs, although jobs are really, really important. Because we have rising levels of inequality within economies in the developed world. We really want prosperity for all. That's going to require lots of innovation because some of the products and services, first of all, are ultimately democratizing. Every innovation should have in it the seeds of social improvement because that too will be good for everyone. So I want and I want social innovation too. If you have a culture of innovation, then you're going to get a lot of people who have new methods for dealing with what had seemed to be intractable social problems. So innovation is important. It's always been important, and it continues to be important. And the fact that you're devoting time to actually thinking about producing more of it will be good for your businesses, for your companies, but it also will be good for society and the world. And I think our goal should be not just prosperity for me, not just prosperity for my people or my country, but prosperity for the world. We have the science to be able to do that, but it hasn't been getting to all the people that need it. You put those two things together, that also produces opportunities for things that you invent and develop here to have meaning as well as produce money. And that's why I think it's very important to know the new game we're in and to be able to win it. Thank you very much.